Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this edition of the webinar. This is presented by Sona College of Technology and the Hindu, Education plus Career Counseling. We have today with us three eminent panelists. The topic for today is Engineering Education Counseling. What direction is it taking? We have with us Mr. Choco Valliyappa, founder and CEO of V Technologies, Hire Me, and Vice Chairman, Sona Tech. Mr. Choco Valliyappa is a passionate and multifaceted entrepreneur born into a family of entrepreneurs dating to 1920. He started in textiles and became a coffee farmer. He co-founded an incubation company, Valliyappa Software Tech Park, launching Oracle, Cisco, and Verifone in India in 1995. In 2000, he founded V Technologies, a Fortune IOAP list of top 100 global services company focused in revenue cycle and coding, population, health, and engineering services. V annually handles $35 billion plus worth transactions with Six Sigma levels of accuracy, working with global 1,000 and medium-sized companies. V features in the INC 500 as owner and trustee in the long-standing education institution Family Trust. Choco plays an integral role in furthering research and innovations of Sona Tech, Sona Management, and Tyagarajan, having over 200 PhDs, 30 research labs doing path-breaking R&D activities from rocket motors to nano composites and big data analytics to climate and rainfall. In the last 60 years, 2 lakh students have graduated, and the college has won CII and AICTE Best College Award. The Union Education Ministry has ranked Sona among the top 5 private colleges in the country. Being an entrepreneur and able to think for the community comes naturally to Mr. Choco. Hire Me is a recruitment platform focused on enabling 3 million jobs for youth by 2025. Choco is one of the founders of Entrepreneurs Organization, EO, Bangalore chapter. Its past president and former area director for India-Nepal region. He is a member of the YPO, Young Presidents Organization, Global South Asia chapter and Global One. Welcome, Mr. Choco. Dr. Sandhya Chintala is the Executive Director of Sector Skills Council, NASSCOM. SSC addresses the education and skills development initiative of the industry body for the country. Dr. Chintala is also the Vice President of the National Association of Software Services Company, NASSCOM, which is the Chamber of Commerce of the IT BPM industry. Dr. Chintala has a rich background in international and national education management. Her role at NASSCOM includes providing the roadmap for IT BPM industries, NASSCOM education initiatives, programs with a vision to develop education strategy, capacity building, assessment and evaluation, development of industry standards to facilitate a quality talent pool, liaising between industry, academia, and government, making India the preferred global destination for all IT and BPM ITES requirements. Dr. Chintala brings NASSCOM ecosystem 37 years of experience to facilitate talent transformation and acquisition for the industry body. In close collaboration with the IT BPM industry and other relevant stakeholders, she has contributed to the design and development of the Sector Skills Council for NASSCOM. Her focus is to identify job roles and career paths for the benefit of students and academia to facilitate a clear understanding of career opportunities provided by the industry and to streamline multiple approaches towards a national standard. Dr. Chintala's contribution toward the development of workforce market intelligence system, the analysis of talent supply and demand report, the quality assurance parameters for affiliation, accreditation, and certification documents, and the design and development of high-end online assessments and platforms for qualification packs and related area have helped modernize and bridge the gap between education provision and vocational training for this industry. Welcome, Dr. Chintala. We have with us Anil Sivadas, a technology entrepreneur, investor, and turnaround expert. He is the founder chairman of Venture Engineering LLC Chicago. Besides being associated in various capacities in a half a dozen companies, he brings with him 25 years of experience, which is a unique blend of executive management and entrepreneurial skills in the high technology space. An engineering graduate, he has a master's degree in management and continued his education through a series of executive education in ISB, London Business School, and Massachusetts Institute of Technology. His key strength lies in identifying and curing stress lines within organizations and propelling growth in the international market. Welcome, Dr. Sivadas. I request Dr. Chintala to please start with her. Please.
Thank you, Ms. Sujata. I'm just going to share my screen. Let me do that. The moment you can see, could you just let me know if you can see my screen?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. Good morning to all of you. It's an amazing opportunity to be able to actually work with you all and give you some guidance as to build the future. You are our future. It's already here, but today there are challenging times. But I would love to give you some idea from our industry, which is a horizontal as a technology, because I represent the IT and IT-enabled services sector. And hopefully you will be a part of the change and some of you will also drive the change. Ultimately, our goal is to enable this country to be the digital hub of the world and to be a superpower by 2030. So let's share this vision and let me go ahead with this. So one way to unravel the apple, which is the world, is basically this technology is going to embrace the various emerging new techs that is coming in. AI, big data, cybersecurity, cloud computing, augmented virtual reality, IoT, robotic process automation, 3D printing, or what you otherwise call additive manufacturing, then blockchain, then you'll have web and mobile, nanosensors, and the list goes on. So what we intend to do is actually to future-proof ourselves. And to do that, we need to have a talent pipeline, which is constantly changing. And hence our interest to talk to you and to give you some idea what the future is going to be for the engineering section and this technology sector from now to at least 2030. So this will tell you about how you need to sustain yourselves and what are the various areas that you should work. One of the things that we've done is we do a lot of research constantly. You know, the last 30 years, we have never missed a beat. We've always been able to sustain ourselves, even in the pandemic, when suddenly all of us had to work from home, when 90% of us moved away to working from home, but our businesses continued to grow. So this adaptability and agility belongs to the intelligence and the behavior of our young candidates. So we need you to understand that this technology and these emerging tech will impact agriculture, like precision agriculture will come to me, where IoT, cloud, all of them, AI will come together. Digital manufacturing, and you've seen in the COVID period how we have fast forward button has been clicked and retail and wholesale has gone totally online. The construction will go into actually high-end integrated with smart buildings, etc. Transportation, of course. I'm going to give you an idea of how whole government can work on blockchain. Education, even the school, all your results recently have been stored on blockchain. You know that. Financial sector, how that's actually changing with the derivatives that we have, the healthcare and others. But if we actually play our act right, in India itself, this should create 156 million jobs, which will sustain itself, basis the fact that you are actually going to be able to do so. Our own businesses, we have found, are changing. In the next 10 years, about 40% of what we think is good to go now will die out. But then what is going to be our workforce, which is the talent, and you as young engineers are aspiring towards? 9% of 600 million youngsters who are working in India, that's about 54 million, will be in jobs we don't even know. But it will be in this new age technologies. So let's prepare ourselves, and I'll give you a clear view of where we are. 37% will be actually changing their job roles in their specific area by absorbing these technologies, and 54% will be still slow, but it'll continue. We've actually had a taste of all of this. So we are reimagining our businesses, and therefore you as youngsters must have the right attitude on how you will constantly be changing your work over a period of your professional life. So everybody is scared of automation. Everybody says, oh, we're going to lose job. We also predict, yeah, 50% of the current work activities will get automated. But I'm going to give you an idea. Though it is 6 out of 10 jobs will get automated, out of 2.66 billion as a workforce globally by 2030, what 10% will be in new occupations, and you may be a part of it. So I'm also going to give you an idea that very clearly saying is, how are you comparing ourselves with some of the top countries in the world? And your idea, whether you are an artist, a designer, an entertainer, media worker, will all have technology integration. Even if I become a musician, all my tech is very highly connected to the cloud, it's IoT, it's COM compliant, and therefore those platforms that I enable, I need to understand it. I'm going to give you a very quick brief. India is about growing in this particular area, 58%. So those of you who have a creative bent of mind, go forward heartily. If I have technology professions like computer engineers and specialists, India is growing 129%. Now, teachers, all of you, please do not think that's a low. It's a highly technological job. Blended learning is there. Virtually integrated processes are the way to go. So educational professionals, it's going to grow in India by 208%, outstripping China by almost 100%. If I look at managers and executives, it's a moderate 75% growth in India compared to 40% in China, and about US is about 50. If I look at builders, I'm talking about the construction industry. You have 7-star hotels, you have buildings, you can 3D print homes. So construction workers, sanitation, repair works, all of that, even the sewage cleaning will get IoT enabled. So we are looking at India at about 117% growth in this. So engineers in the civil area, etc., need also understand emerging tech and how they can enable the space. Look at care providers. The healthcare industry is going to grow. If you look at India, we expect a 242% rise. So technicians, child workers, pharmaceuticals, physicians, social workers, doctors, nurses, it's all there. But you will find more and more of the technology is getting integrated into our hospital management, doctors' performance, and it's going to be a medical marvel with technology and human, skill. You look at professionals per se, whether it's account managers, engineers, business and financial specialists, it's a modest growth because most of this can be automated too. But India, we still expect in the next 5 to 6 years a 46% growth. So ride the bandwagon if this is your interest. If I look at office support, huge, we had back-end work, huge of this part is going to get automated. So IT workers, records, financial workers, payroll, etc., it's going to grow modest. In many of the countries like Japan and Germany, it's going negative because it's getting automated. But in India, there's still a 21% growth in the next 5 years. Customer interaction, more and more, whether it's online or offline, whether it's going to be entertainment, sales work, personal appearance workers, there's going to be a huge change in all of this. We look at India to be about a 46% growth rate. It's still not picking up as yet, but this will become critical. So having said all of this, our IT industry is trying to say that we will invest in the future of work. This is about representing 93% of the ITS industry in India, representing 2,700 companies. And the voice of this industry is about 17,000 of such companies. So our main goal is to build a nation which will be the talent hub. We actually outsourced our talent before, but now there is a new opportunity. Sit here in India, in Salem, in Coimbatore, in Rajasthan, Jaipur, anywhere you want, but you can actually service the rest of the world. That's the power of technology. Having said this, what are the key talent tech drivers? So most of you as engineers or aspirants must remember the traditional tech will condense to about 30%, and the digital talent will be the way to go. right? So it's important for you to see that if you're civil, chemical, mechanical, whatever engineering stream you take, that you will always intercept these emerging technologies into your learning pattern, whether they are foundation skills or domain skills. Know about it, be aware, understand it, and then subsequently see how you can actually apply it in your place of work. So if I were to take all these 10 technologies and have a look at it, I can see a clear route that entry level, that will be when new engineers are going, you will find that we are looking for a 15% to a 46% hiring growth rate, right? So it's going to be very, very important for us that you are there. We are literally struggling as an industry sector. We're saying these emerging tech is there, but we need to automate. But even to drive that automation, I need the technologies. So there is a scarcity of premium tech talent, and therefore this might work against India. And hence our interest to inform you and let you know where we are going so that you can get future ready. So the way is, when you are going for an interview, remember that you have to portray a digital talent which is diverse, that you know something about these technologies. Be aware, much of this is available everywhere and also on our Future Skills platform. We still will be very importantly looking at innovation. So whether you are creative, whether you're able to think out of the box, so try and look at the companies, go to their website, learn what they are trying to do so that you can talk intelligently. Show that you are going to be agile and that you are resilient, that as change comes, you will also have the ability to change. Be responsive and also say that you will be responsible technology users. I'll talk to you about coding bias subsequently. Ultimately, we have to live in a world of trust. So these are the key points that we are looking when we hire for you to articulate when you come to the interview panel. Now, by technologies, if I were to look at data analytics is leading with about 85%. This is where my companies are going. Web-enabled markets, Internet of Things, machine learning, cloud computing, digital trade, augmented and virtual reality, encryption, new materials, wearable electronics, blockchain, 3D printing, stationary robots, quantum computing. But you see, so if you don't have to think quantum and biotechnology and humanoid robots are right, I need you to know the basics. So if you know the fundamentals, we'll be getting there. I can share this with Sona College. They also have this data that they can make it available through the Hindu for you to know that these are the areas that the industry is going to be hiring the next few years. So we also looking through all of this. In your interviews, show that you have the innovation to also try to become a job creator, because there are about 80 lakh candidates who graduate, but there's not enough jobs for everybody unless you spread yourselves around and look at the various interest areas. So we also want you to be job creators. So a college like Sona is a blended learning, which also has entrepreneurship as one of its focus areas. So grab an opportunity and look for colleges of engineering that actually enable you to be a job creator, just not an employee. So having said that, academic streams, most of the time we look at academic, computer engineering, mechanical, civil engineering, electrical, electronics, instrumentation, information technology. But I'm now going to show you across each of these emerging tech where the need is, all right? I'll give you. So let me talk to you about cloud computing. Amazing. So the industry itself will go, the largest user of cloud computing will be the technology companies. Then it will be e-commerce and internet platform players. Then it will go BFSI, manufacturing, telecom, and others. So you will see that software development, architecture, DevOps, security, infrastructure, operations are leading. And you will be surprised to know that in India, India is the largest. If you look at, we are 31% growth. Number-wise, we are the third largest hirer of cloud experts. And if you see this, you can also service the world in a gig economy. So look at the engineering streams that we are hiring. Somebody asked a question on the chat. So again, it starts computer, manufacturing, electronics, electrical, civil, computer application, IT, mathematics, chemical, computer science, infotech, sciences, metallurgy, statistics, mining, engineering, aeronautical. So usually you see the similar trend coming out in all our research picks. If I look at AI big data, it's growing at about, I need fresh hires at about 18% compounded annual growth rate by 2025, just 4 years ago, later. And again, you will see the same sort of a degree split. All right, very interesting to note these trends. Then One area I would like you to look at is to talk intelligently, talk about deep learning. Deep learning in this AI big data space is a $30 trillion program, right? And it will be useful for the next 15 to 20 years. So specialization in this area. We will be reinventing data centers. Accelerators will, dominated by GPUs, will become the dominant processor. This area is growing at 21%, and it's $41 billion as an industry globally by 2030. So look at these areas, make note. Cybersecurity, of course, will become the norm. This is growing at open job positions are at 38%. SIGA, that is, it's growing that much, right? By 2024, we need this much more, about 44,000 specialists in the cybersecurity space. Again, if I look at the jobs, the highest is coming up as security analyst application security, and goes on down to architecture. So everywhere, 40%, 39%, this is their growth rate. So this is one area that's also growing, and more automation and digitization will lead to this. Now, one thing that's going to happen, and you have seen, is going to be digital wallets. This would scale to about 20,000 per year per user and represents a $4.6 trillion opportunity in the US itself. And in India, if we are able to get digital connect, it will simply soar. So see whether you can be a job creator in this space, because you can use technology into the banking sector and it impact every individual who has a smartphone. Now, Bitcoin fundamentals will come into play. We are still looking at different countries, but this is an area of research and strategy and standardization that is necessary for global finance. Have a look at it. It's a worthwhile proposition. Augmented virtual reality. This is now growing at 35% growth rate. Open jobs are available in India by 2025. Here again, if you look at the state of the college streams, engineering, computer engineering, mechanical, electronics, and the list goes on down to electronics. Here, this is so beautiful because all of us are going blended. So the virtual worlds, entertainment, education, looking at the way of how the hospitals work, etc., even transportation, etc. This will lead to a new construct called the metaverse, right? So we'll all be connected globally. So those of you who are interested in the creatives, as well as in AI, big data, and computer science, and you can code also, this is a huge space, gamification. Your whole life will actually be how we sell things, how we learn things, and you will find that the neural networks in your brain are almost on par with the robotic processes with deep learning and machine learning. So once that connectivity is there, the ability to learn and rapid skilling, which is one of the things that Sona College talks about all the time, will be the way of how we will learn. Right? So there is Dr. Miko Kaku in the university in New York, which is a community college, has been able to actually find out how we can upload and download human interactions, emotions, and memories. So that will change how we will actually learn and, of course, how we will live in this world of work. Now let's move on to IoT. It's a market assessment. It's going at 31% CAGR here again. Very interesting things to stir. Again, you see the same spot. Computer engineering, mechanical, electronics, and the list goes on. This is all the way actually people are learning, and these are the students that are coming to our fore. But we need actually to have IoT in agriculture. I need IoT in doctors. I need IoT in the healthcare, in the health services, life sciences space and pharmaceuticals, etc. So this will be Internet of everything, just not Internet of things, but everything, right? One area that we can see is when IoT is now connected is in electric vehicles, because by 2030, we know that we are going to run out of fossil fuels globally. So what is the next mode of transportation? And there are more lines of code in a car nowadays, and especially in an electric vehicle than elsewhere. So when I go to a mechanical engineer who designs automobiles, remember coding and electronics and AI, big data all come together, right? So this is a huge area. Robotic process automation, again, it's growing at a 41% CAGR growth rate. And again, I will see the same trend in the Indian ecosystem of how we are hiring from the various engineering streams. In this automation, like to say, this is going to be a $1.2 trillion in the US with GDP in the next 5 years. This will add to 5%, and this is just 5%. So the way we are looking at business, and how things will get automated. So you need to ensure that you're choosing a college that actually addresses all these requirements. Choose a college that has a blended learning process, because it's not enough to have a curricula that just addresses the need of the hour, but to be futuristic. From here, you'll see that you'll have an autonomous ride. Uberization of everything is already happening, right? By 2030, that will be the modus operandi. We will have everything going on by drone delivery. Drones will be used for basically cybersecurity, it will be used for delivery. You can have, as an aging population comes up, this you will find is a 50 billion hardware sales space. So whether you're having research in your colleges, whether you're going to ensure companies do this, even there will be a drone-based taxi service that is going to be available. So these are ideas and areas that you need. Orbital aerospace. So the aerospace opportunity, satellite connectivity, hypersonic flight will exceed to $350 billion annually. So please do not ignore this, because everywhere there's an opportunity to spread as you desire, because you have your own internal skill and learning. Blockchain, right? 41% growth rate that you can see down here. And then you will see again the same talent supply from academia reflects the same. And then I move on to 3D printing. It's a very interesting foray. 3D printing will revolutionize manufacturing, home care. Then 60%. It's growing at an annual rate of 60% globally. It was 12 billion last year, and it will be 120 billion by 2025. India still needs to ride this. We can lose all our housing problems because all of these 3D printings will be IoT enabled, they will be smart, etc. But it can be cheap as. Larsen and Toubro recently, in a small place, I think in Coimbatore or elsewhere, made a 3D two-tier building, which materials that can be reused. So these are ideas that you need to put in place. Creativity and innovation will be your ticket to success. Then, of course, it's a gene sequencing, long-term read sequence. This is growing at 82% annual, 250 million to about a $5 billion industry in 2025. We are struggling to have people in this particular space. Multi-cancer screening. This is going to save lives because of the type of foods that we have and the plastic utilization. Cancer is growing, but then we can actually have a screening protocol, which is about reducing 66,000 cancer deaths per year and saving at least 1.4 million human lives. In India alone, it's growing at 35% CAGR. We have companies like Cypher Healthcare, etc., that are doing innovation, technology, and healthcare mix to actually elevate this problem. So look it up. It's an interesting sponsor say. It's a startup which has actually grown tremendously. Now, cell and gene therapy, you will find that a lot of youngsters who are born or to be born have problems in their genomic structure. They can inherit Parkinsonism, or they can become autistic or whatever. So there is now, with our robotic process automation, cloud computing, IoT and AI big data, we can actually remove the defective gene and replace it with a proper. So gene therapy is going to hugely technology oriented, and this will actually rule the future of healthcare, because you will find that as we get older, the ability for you to look after the healthcare processes of your country will decrease, right? So this is again a huge area. Last but not the least, people, the way we are going to work in the future is totally different. We are now going to be looking at a gig economy, where you will take your work for your company. There is no long-term, you'll work for a project. So you will work for a particular area. You can work anywhere in the world. You'll get a 5-star rating, and accordingly, you can put up your price points. You can also simultaneously work for your own entrepreneurial process, and you will have multiple companies that you can work for at the same time. So company loyalty is not being looked at. You can bring your own device and make it. So we are looking for colleges. If you find an opportunity to look at colleges which say, make your own educational package, right? Because you need to be agile. So to conclude, I would say you have technical skills and the professional skills like problem solving, design thinking, continuous learning, collaboration, digital leadership, negotiation, communication, storytelling. These professional skills will last you a lifetime. The technical skills you constantly need to change. So the last piece I would like is you will be ruled by platforms. The outcomes and functionalities of a platform. When you go to a college, it's a platform enabled one. How are you going to be hired in the college? For jobs, how will you get hired? What is your credit score? What's your insurance? Whether you can housing the loans, whether you'll get placement in other processes, whether you are eligible for healthcare. You have facial recognition tools. All of this need to have engineering, legal, ethics, and governance. So I cannot repeat the number of times governance is important. It needs to be there. It is the rule of the hour. So please, those of you who are looking, remember anything and everything that you want to be shortly in the next 5 years will be technology enabled. So unless you are responsible to understand who codes and how you code it, what is the transparency of not building human bias into the platform, you will actually live in a world where you are going to be ostracized and not connected. So in the school system, we have already worked with Atal Innovation Centers, and we are working in schools to say from 6th, 8th, and 10th, CBSE and MHRD are working together. So if you want to learn something very quickly, because you're going for engineering and need to get yourself updated on these technologies, go to the Future Skills Prime platform, which is already there. Learn. It's all free, where 10 hours, 15 hours, 45 hours, get to know and prepare yourself. Because you will find that your ability to innovate is going to determine the winners. So thank you for this opportunity to tell you of India's transforming talent story and where you can actually perform. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Chintala. Thank you very much. That was really comprehensive and extremely interesting to know that the job market is there for every student who wants to take up engineering.
Yes.
I request Dr. Anil Sirdas to please make his presentation. He is going to speak on how core engineering sector actually really has value even today.
Right. Thank you, Sujata, and thank you, Dr. Chintala. I mean, very interesting presentation. We learned quite a bit about the opportunities. Now, what I would like to talk about is, as a young engineer or as a young parent, a parent of a young engineer, future engineer, what is it that you should look at? Because either you're deciding your own future, or you're deciding your child's future. So I would say that there are two things that you need to keep in mind. One is what suits your interest, right? So I did 30 years back, I joined engineering. Now, at that point of time, I knew very well that, for me, engineering was in my DNA. So I got into the engineering field and then started learning engineering. So likewise, you probably need to really figure out what is that the skill that you have in you, inherently in you. And today, with modern technology, there are lots of tools available. A lot of assessment tools are available. Psychometric assessment tools are available. You should probably go through that bit to really figure out, if you don't know for yourself what is good for you. Because like some wise man said, if you like what you do, then it's not a job anymore, and then you tend to excel. So that's the first point. The second point is, whether the chosen area, what you take, does it have a future growth or not? So I would say this would be your starting point to really understand, right? And now, when I talk about core engineering, I'm very passionate about core engineering. And then, I have always felt that today that is an area. So what I mean by core engineering is, mechanical, electrical, civil, instrumentation control, and, disciplines like that, which are actually what I would bundle as core engineering, right? The information technology and software development goes around that. Now, why core engineering today? So I would see a few points here. All indications say that a lot of manufacturing is shifting from China into India. And if you see a lot of data, especially if you look at NASSCOM's data or any of that, manufacturing is slowly shifting into India. Now, why is it shifting into India? Number one reason is, I would say, it is anti-China sentiment. So, which means that a lot of people don't like to buy Chinese products. Plus, a lot of people don't want to have single source from China. When COVID hit, people who had single source from China, all of them had a lot of problems. So government also has done a lot of make in India drives. Means, can we make this in India and supply to India and also export? There is also a big defense offset push to set up manufacturing here. Plus, India's purchasing power is increasing. Like, it's like a nuclear explosion, right? I mean, every small village when you go, the kind of things they use, if you see, you'll be very happy and surprised, right? That, see, look, it's all so it becomes like a nuclear. So bulk of all of these, my reading is that the manufacturing is going to explode over the next 10 or 15 years. So if you're now looking for a job, let's say in 4 years, by the time you finish your work, you would see that the manufacturing would be much, much more than what it is today. Now, what does that mean to you as an engineer? So modern manufacturing will drive data, right? So modern manufacturing is not like the old time manufacturing. It is highly processed because you need to be efficient. So to be efficient, you need to have data coming out. So which means that there is IoT, that is Internet of Things. That is, so in very simple words, let's say in a machine, the oil level is low. Earlier, a person had to go there and check whether the oil level is low. Whereas today, you have little devices you fit there, which will let the central control know that, see, there is a problem, right? That's what we call Internet of Things. So there is IoT going out there. There is automation and robotics. So if you go to, say, some of these large, Western plants, everything is automated. Whereas in India, it is completely, so which means that there is a lot of opportunity which will come up for automation. And what is automation? It is mechanical and electronics, right? And of course, some bit of software, but it's primarily mechanical electronics and maybe a little bit of electrical. So it will start driving those industries. The modern industrial manufacturing practices will start driving the industrial engineering. A lot of jobs will start getting created there. Then, of course, when products start getting developed in India, mechanical, electrical, electronics will also grow. So you would see that all of these together would substantially drive the core engineering. Now, in the past, let's say 10 years, the IT BPO growth has driven a lot of computer science, information technology, and computer science, which will sustain. I'm not saying it will not sustain, but there will be a big push on the core engineering in the next 10 years, primarily driven by the Make in India movement. So, so now when we are employing hundreds of engineers actually. So we also get a real feel of the engineering skill that comes out of the colleges over the last, let's say, 20 years. And one of the big changes which I have seen is that the engineers 10 years back, I'm not again saying that the old is gold, okay? But what I'm saying is that 10 years back, when you look at the engineers who come out, the amount of tech understanding has become probably half. So this is one of my big pain points. And I think what as a college, as engineers, we should focus on. One is, we need practical knowledge, and not book knowledge, which means that you need to get oil and grease in your hand. This is after joining the college, right? Oil and grease in your hand. You need to be able to tighten nuts, bolts, go under cars, find out and feel for yourself what exactly is engineering, right? So today there is a very funny terminology which is used, which is called mouse jockey. So you have a mouse and you're a jockey, right? So all you're seeing is a blue computer screen, and there is no vocational touch to engineering, and that gives a very it becomes very difficult as you advance your career. So I would say that if you are actually doing a engineering course, you should go in depth in studying the technology and also getting your hands soiled. So just to summarize my 3 points, first is that when you are actually choosing a career, look at 2 things. One is understand what you're good at. Are you a good mechanical person? Are you do you like building construction? So maybe you like civil as a thing. You like to draw, so maybe you're an architect. That is your line. And second is whether your chosen area has got future, right? And then the reason to choose a core engineering. So second, I talked about reason to choose a core engineering today. My feeling is that the manufacturing drive will start driving a lot of electronics, mechanical, and all of that. All those disciplines will start building. And finally, we talked about the focus when you join the engineering college. Please focus on practical knowledge and not book knowledge. And second is focus on learning the core technology, not just passing the exam. So these are my 2 bits, Sujata.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sirdas. That was really interesting. Yes, I agree with you that people have to have hands-on training, hands-on experience when they go into industry. And I think we've all had this. As journalists, we had to have that when we came into the industry. Yeah. I request Mr. Choco Valiappa to please make his points, after which we will take the questions. There are quite a few questions here.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Thank you.
Go on. Okay, let's wait until he comes back. Maybe we can take a couple of questions. He's not available right now. Okay, so until he comes back, we'll have one question. Dr. Chintala, there was a question right in the beginning itself for you. This person wanted to know about which engineering.
Can you hear me
yes,
now,
yes,
madam?
yes. Please come back.
Yeah,
yes.
Sorry. Sorry. So it's indeed a momentous time today that it's 100 years ago exactly, till date almost, the Gandhi removed a shirt in our founder's house, correct, in the Karmut Tyagaraja Chettiar's house. And that's what we celebrated. So that's been our journey in a way. When we started textiles in India 100 years ago, and we didn't find talent, and that's one of the reasons, because most of the engineering was done in the UK, and in order to develop India and develop Indians, from that ethos is how Karmuthu Tyagaraja Chettiar set up the educational institutions, Tyagaraja Polytechnic and the various other Tyagaraja institutions. So we continue that same tradition today in terms of trying to develop the young generation. And we are in an exciting time. I mean, if anyone was not excited by Dr. Sandhya Chintala's presentation, I think I'm sure everyone was, because I did see a question as we started off, what branch or what domain is going to be the future? So let me tell the answer is that domain which is going to make the future has not yet been born. So it will be an absolutely new technology, which will be the one which breaks off and takes off into India and brings India forward. So a lot of these sectors, so like I think rightly Anil Shivdas pointed out, so you basically need to follow your gut, your interest, and your DNA. If you are made to be an engineer and you're a mechanical engineer, please be a mechanical engineer. There is great future if you just follow your passion. So, take an example, I studied textile engineering, and today what I do is completely technology. I do healthcare, and complete my life changed. So, and all our lives are going to change. So if our lives have changed in the last 20, 30 years, so all the future, your lives are going to keep changing. So, and that's the willingness to learn is what is going to be defining who you are. And luckily, within Sona, we are able to offer not only undergraduate, but also postgraduate and PhD. And more so, than ever. So we started offering advanced diploma. So we are the only college to offer advanced diploma along with your university degree. So this is an advanced diploma which has been announced by the UGC. So you will all have a option, and then we are offering not one or two, but literally for every candidate in engineering, there will be an advanced diploma available. So I'll just go a quick list, whether you want to do a AI, ML, artificial intelligence and machine learning diploma, or you want to do a business management diploma, cybersecurity diploma. So cybersecurity, for example, we tied up with NASSCOM sector skill in one of the first colleges to sign up with NASSCOM for the cybersecurity program. or I think we did speak about electric mobility. So electric mobility and smart systems is another thing that we are now offering advanced diploma. Smart manufacturing, which Anil Shivda spoke about, that's another advanced diploma. And a lot of these technologies are converging together. So like, so there's textiles, fashion technology, which is converting to electrical, electronics, biomedical, and into something called wearable technology. And there's one place in the whole of Asia which you can lean on for advanced, for anything you want to do on wearable technology, which is Sona College of Technology. Why? Because we are investing 85 crores. Nobody is investing even 5 or 10 crores, and we Sona institutions are investing 85 crores in wearable technology, and we are the only Asian institution university to tie up along with the Canadian universities. So all the Canadian universities are tied up with Sona to become the center for wearable technology, and there's 85 crores behind it. So in terms of the advancement of those things, so be it drone, there's an advanced diploma on drone. So last year, for example, all the people who worked in this drone technology completely got absorbed. So they were civil students, and they got close to 4 lakhs package, 4.5 lakhs package, and they got absorbed. And data analytics is another big thing, as we heard in the last few minutes. Sports medicine, yoga, and there's another big field of mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. So if you looked at so be it especially in the construction industry, the MEP is a big thing, which is post the architects, then you need to completely redesign the building. That's also another big thing which is coming out. And startups are becoming a big thing in the world today. Most of the youngsters are getting to be in startups. And so we are fortunate that IIT Madras has been doing a great job and probably one of the best startups anywhere in the world, the startup ecosystem. So Professor Junjunwala, for example, has created single-handedly a 7,000 crore ecosystem in the Chennai incubation center at IIT. And we are fortunate that he reached out to us, and then we have signed up, Sona signed up an incubator center with IIT Madras. And so the only thing that they want to do is to pick up startups from Sona and see how they can nurture them and take them forward further. And Sandhya Chintala, Dr. Sandhya Chintala had spoken about blended learning. So blended learning is something that is going to be the mode of the future. So, and last week I had a interaction with, since all the students are on campus, so I called a cross section of students and I had a one-on-one interaction with the students. And all of them are saying how to best breed. They were trying to see how do we best breed learning. And many of the colleges today have got into this blended learning and e-learning, 1 or 2 years ago post-COVID, and they were forced to get into it. And we were fortunate at Sona that we were probably one of the earliest in India, or probably earliest in the world, to do e-learning, because we started our journey towards e-learning in 1996 when the Canadians came forward and took us and trained us in something called distributed learning center, is what they called then, because then along with Harvard University and Tyagaraja Polytechnic and Sona, we did that together. Way back in 96, I signed the agreement with them and brought in Sona University. And today, actually post-COVID, probably 4 years ago, we started something called a lecture capture system where every lecture in Sona was recorded. Because what happens is that very often when you go back to revision or something, you see and then you say, gosh, I wish I'd listened to that lecture. And we tag these lectures for every 10 or 15 minutes. So you can literally go back, rewind, and see what was done in class and capture that completely. So that's a very unique thing that we're one of the few colleges to have a lecture capture system in every classroom, which makes it very easy for the students to go back and revise. And another huge concept which we also have is the choice-based credit system, because the new education policy talks about all of that. So how can you take perhaps do mechanical but do Python? Because and then luckily for us, all the mechanical students who got Python, learned Python, nearly are all completely placed at Infosys, for example. I think 18 students from a mechanical branch walked into Infosys, and because they knew that. And luckily, like if you take Capgemini, in their placement drive, as well as CTS, a lot of our civil students have done exceedingly well. And I mean, normally you don't expect a civil student to crack a 6.75 lakhs offer at CTS and walk through. So, and a civil student did that. So, I mean, you need to have this blended learning, not just in terms of digital learning, but also blended learning from a choice-based credit system to widen your scope. And that's available. And another huge aspect, which I can bring in a new dimension, is the soft skills that you can add. I give you a personal example of mine. Like, my son was studying in the University of Michigan, and his counselors called him and said, listen, you don't have enough humanities credit, so you need to get some humanities. And so he went and picked up Japanese and started learning Japanese. And then now, because he learned Japanese, so he started getting interest and picked it up, and then applied for his PhD in machine learning in the University of Tokyo. And the fact that he knew Japanese probably helped him a lot, and he's working on a 100% scholarship in the University of Tokyo. And so that's something that we are the single largest institution around the world which is teaching Japanese, for thousands of students. And the advantage is that we're teaching Japanese through the choice-based credit system. So you get a credit for learning Japanese. And the programs available as an outcome, you're able to track salaries of 21 lakhs, 22 lakhs. And these are students who are working in Japan now in either IT or mechanical or any of these skills, because Japan is a great nation for India. And the very fact that Prime Minister Modi is there today talking in the Quad, which is America, UK, America, Australia, Japan, India, and talking to the Japanese Prime Minister, because India is very well aligned with Japan. Japan is the oldest country in the world, and India is one of the youngest countries in the world. So it's a perfect unique fit. And the other thing which Dr. Sandhya Chintala was alluding to was the future skills. So, we are one of the, luckily, thanks to NASSCOM, that we are one of, and we are completely aligned with NASSCOM's Future Skill program in terms of trying to get the best practices of what needs to be done. And one of the things we always encourage, even in an online world, was hands-on learning. So I think Dr. Anil Shivdas was talking about how do you dirty your hands. That's something that we take pride in. So when the All India Smart India Hackathon was announced last year, so we were very happy that our students won the first prize with the Prime Minister, and they actually won the first prize for agriculture, combining it with IoT. And how do you bring in and yielding higher for the farmers? So that's a great thing that we have done. And we also have many other courses, last year, the highest placement was at Cisco. And that happened because a person learned CCNA, the Cisco Certified Network Assistant program. And so he was able to go and showcase to Cisco what he could do, and then bring in from a marketing perspective and things like that. And again, another nice thing about Sona is that we have a lot of projects. So, and that's one of the reasons why when Sujata was talking about the AICTE CII award winning over the last 9 years, we won the award for the best industry linked institution, because we have a lot of industry problems coming in, and the students can actually work on these industry problems. So the NEP, the new education policy, says that the 4th year of engineering will be in research. And what other better place to do in a place where we have 35 research centers and doing outstanding work. And the reason why I'm wearing an ISRO t-shirt is that one of our proudest achievements is that we've been sending rocket motors in space for the last 8 years. And it's not just navigation motors, it's fuel mixers, it's stepper motors, it's gyroscopes, and they're all working in space for the last 9 years. We've been almost a sole partner with ISRO for the brushless, slotless DC motors. And these motors are designed, developed, manufactured at Sona, in Sona. And that's the huge advantage students get to work on projects like this. Let me give you another example. So we came up with this concept of how do we clean India, from Swachh Bharat side, right? So we came up with this idea of a vacuum cleaner which can only pick up plastic. And I'm actually a researcher, and it was my idea. So I have filed close to 10 patents, and this is one of the patents. And then all these projects are actually implemented by the students. So they've gone out, they found out, and how do you do this? And we demonstrated, and we filed a patent. And another lovely area is in terms of doing electronic nose, for example. So we came up with the idea is how can you find an electronic sensor which can sense smell in toilets? And we filed another patent on that. And these are, again, projects done by different students, all undergraduate students, potentially like a lot of all of you coming in. So that's something that you need to look at when you're picking up a college, right? So which is the one which can give you the best ROI, return on investment? So the amount you're going to be spending the next 4 years, and what's the outcome, right? So if you take the outcome, like, so if you look at the placement record, right? So in terms of Capgemini coming in last week and giving 52 offers, or Cognizant right now, 200 people have been enrolling into SAP at 8 lakhs an offer, and picking up large numbers. All these are double-digit offers and things like that, and be it TCS, be it Wipro. So the performance record has been great. So and also you should see how the CTC, the average CTC in these colleges are raising. So and we were very happy, and we were actually shocked. We were thinking post-COVID, how is this batch going to graduate and go out? And we were shocked that the CTC rose through COVID. So the batch which went before COVID and after COVID, actually the CTC raised by 1 lakh a student, or 1.5 lakhs almost. So that shows that even during the pandemic, the college as well as our students have been able to perform and then move into the next level. So and I'll leave a few more. I have observations, but I'll leave it for question and answer. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chokka. We have quite a few questions here, and a lot of students, as usual, have asked which is the most flourishing engineering sector today. And this one, the first question is actually addressed to Dr. Sandhya Chintala, and they are very clear. They're asking, ma'am, can you please tell which sector is flourishing in today's engineering? I think engineering branches, that's what they mean.
I think, yeah. Because I would basically sound out what Dr. has said. Because Dr. Anil has said, because he says go to the core engineering. We are in a state of change and flux, right? Everything is changing. So if you go to a core engineering, whether it's mechanical, civil, or chemical, one thing is those are areas, and computer science or IT, information technology. This will not change per se as to the core requirement. Those are the fundamentals. But what is required is over and above the fundamentals, you have to integrate all the emerging tech like artificial intelligence, big data, cyber, will be application oriented. And these applications are not just for the ITs. You will find that more and more of these applications for other sectors. It will go to the healthcare sector, it goes into the agriculture, it goes into digital manufacturing, it goes into electronics and instrumentation, it will go into travel and tourism, it goes into real estate, it goes into the banking financial services sector. It also goes into areas like gem and jewelry manufacturing. India is the largest creator of diamond manufacturing, etc., and we do that. But you will find more and more that you need CAD/CAM processes, and they are no 3D printing has come into the jewelry section. Then if you have web and media, whether it is going to be a homegrown product like a chutney or an achar or whatever, everything is being mechanized for quality and standardization. So the core technologies, go for them, but see that you have an application and an understanding of how this will go. A mechanical engineer cannot survive without IoT or without material sciences or 3D printing nowadays, because all the car bodies will be 3D printed. There will be electronic code built into the material itself. And then you will need people who are DevOps guys, those who do the code, who test it and also promote it. cyber security be a built-in feature in that course. You can sit in Korea and you can remotely actually operate your vehicle anywhere in the world. So it's going to be totally connected on the cloud. So these sort of things are the new areas. So go with your gut feeling of what you feel like you want to do. Even in civil engineering, if you're going, I have civil engineers who are now working so strongly in the 3D printing space, right? They are working so strongly with the cloud, how it is working. Now you have mechanical engineers working very strongly with doctors who are actually building the new processes, which is you will be sitting here in India and you can do an operation on a person in the US or vice versa. So it's all interconnected now. So go with your gut and take it up from there. But ensure that you will going to have a cross-functional requirement, as Dr. and Mr. Chako Valiappan has said. Basically, the Sona College is offering this cross-functional requirement. All their faculty are able to use and generate projects which are all patented, which is what you should be looking for, because that gives you an entrepreneurial opportunity to also be a job creator, which is the need of the hour. So there's no big job or small job. It's all there. Just see that it runs with you. And those of you who have the capability actually need to be academicians too, please. We need faculty, because ultimately you wouldn't believe every one of these lines of code are written by high-end researchers who are academicians, right? So they are basically designing the future and the rules on how you will live. You have cybersecurity or the platform. When you go for a job hiring process, when you go for any technology process, you know what happens? You will find that whether you're male or female, whether you belong to a particular country, which a particular race or an ethnicity, whether you are of a particular economic background, there has been the code written by all of you. So that is how we are going to be ruled. You find that elections, who you want as your leaders, are actually driven by those code. You're providing huge amount of data on your cell phone when you speak. That is actually being utilized to understand behaviors. And those behaviors are actually driving business markets and the utilizations of things. So actually there is no, I would run with Dr. Shivdas who is saying, go for core engineering. Over to you, madam.
Thank you. Dr. Shivdas, actually, yes, I want to take up from where she left off, because you have been the one who's been always interested, you've been always focusing throughout this session on why it is important to have, to be interested in core engineering. So
Right.
would you please explain your point?
Sure. So thank you, Sujata. One of the things what I explained earlier was that, like what Dr. Sandhya said, there is opportunity everywhere. I mean, it's not that the opportunity is not there, but you need to find what is your personal fit. So to make it a little more clearer, let's say if you're a student and suppose you're a very creative mind, means like, you like to draw, you like to, go watch the nature, all of that, then probably architecture is your field. If you are a person who likes construction, like, like me, for instance, I don't like construction. The moment I see, too much of construction dollar, I get better. Other people who like to do that construction. So if you like, whenever you walk around and you see buildings and then your eye goes on that, then okay, this is something which I like. Or there may be people who have done hobby projects in college and school. So when I was growing up, I was always making some siren or some this. So I knew that electronics was my passion. Or so likewise, one needs to actually find out what style of engineering, what discipline is there in your mind, and once that is kind of approximately that this is what it is, you can do it on your own, or you can go to a professional who can help you get that. Then you enroll for that particular core engineering vertical. But like what Dr. Sandhya was saying, when you do that core vertical, you also need to focus on the road forward, which is like, let's say if it is mechanical engineering, then you say, okay, I think that design tools, I need to specialize on design tools. So then kind of see if you can enroll yourself for advanced design tool courses, so that you become an expert at a certain design tool by the end of the end of the course. Or you're a civil engineer, you say, okay, I need to be an expert at Revit, because Revit jobs are the ones, design jobs in Revit are the ones which are, or I'm an industrial engineer. I enroll myself as an industrial engineer. So I look at advanced production techniques, and then I focus on that. So earlier, when like probably 20 years back, when we were doing engineering, it's all about those 4 years of, going to college, learning what is there in the books, and then coming out. But today, I think during those 4 years, you also need to drive specialty within your own course, which is tuned to the future. So, again, I'm splitting it as two, right? One is, while selecting the course, okay, it matches my interest levels. And second is, while you are there, moving forward from, I'm sure, I think Sona does a lot of work on that. That is, it's not a normal university prescribed, it's much more than that. So you need to actually take up one of the areas within sub areas within one of that, and drive that specialization learning of that. And also soil your hands, go to the labs, open machinery, spoil a few of Choco's nice equipments, and kind of get that get that feel in your hands of something burning, something which, I remember I had connected made some circuit and then connected it to my dad's car, and that whole thing caught fire. So my dad obviously was not the happiest, but I learned something that at that point. So you kind of get that feel of core engineering into your hands. So that those would be my 2 cents. Sujata.
Yeah. Sujata. So if I could continue with what Anil said. So I mean, very few earlier when we had gone to any of our parents had gone to a doctor, it would be an MBBS or something earlier. But today, no one goes to an MBBS doctor. So you want to go to a cardiologist, you want to go to a diabetologist, or internal medicine, or specialties have come in, and that's how the doctors are today. Because you don't want to go to a normal doctor because there's some specialty added to that. Even in the cardio area, if you go, there are some people who only look at valves, some people who look at something else. So the super specialization has happened. So that's the same thing you're going to see today in the world too. And if you super specialize and then align with your area of interest, so like what Anil said, if you are a person with your interest, don't listen to your neighbor, don't listen to your parents, because unfortunately, a lot of parents are making decisions today, and the parents know the parents' view of the world is 20 years behind. So they have not seen what is the future. None of the parents have seen the future, including me. So if my son came in and told me deep learning and that's why he wants to do his PhD, I didn't know anything about deep learning 5 years ago. I mean, today, Dr. Sandhya and all of them are talking about deep learning, but that's how he picked an interest, and then he went in. And now today, Dr. Sandhya Chindala says that deep learning alone is a $30 billion industry, right? So in anything, if you are passionate and you have a way to go, then there is way. So Anil said he doesn't have interest in construction, but if there is a student interested in construction, there's a land survey program available. There's a MEP program, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing program, where you teach Revit, you teach BIM modeling, building information management. So if there is a student who learns civil engineering and does a program on MEP, 9 out of 10, I would hire it, because we have a large MEP footprint. So, and we're hiring MEP students. So around India. So we'd be delighted to hire somebody from Sona or something. And then similarly, the drones again, so it's the intersection of civil, mechanical, and things like that. And on IoT, smart manufacturing, anything. So that's the reason why we've launched this advanced diploma. And so apart from BITS Pilani today, there's no other place where you can get this advanced diploma programs and conjointed along with your degree. So you're not only graduating with a degree at the end of 4 years, you also have an advanced diploma. So that's how we want to create specialists in the world today.
To add to what Chokoji has said, I would go down to, when I say core, also looking at mathematics, statistics, science. Most of my coders who are actually changing the world are in this particular space. So systems are now programmed, whether it's an engineer, that it self-learns, so that you have to write the mathematical code, the static, and understand the basics of material energy. Give you an example in the healthcare. Before, if you had to have your cataract removed or anything like that, it was a 3-day program. There was a lot of blood loss. Now, while the operation is happening, you talk to your doctor. That is not even a local. They just put a few drops. They will remove your cataract while you're talking and then replace it with a synthetic piece. And you don't even have to stay more than 20 minutes, the whole operation. You're talking, no anesthesia, talking to the doc, you are fully aware. And then you go back home in about an hour's time. So the hospitals have a turnaround time of, instead of doing one operation and then the patient taking a bed for about 3 days or 10 days, now they're able to do 10 to 15 over a period of 2 to 3 days. So the management has changed, the modus operandi of operations have changed. Everything is an interspace between robotic processes, Internet of Things, the cloud which is out there, as well as AI, big data. So all of this is a mix. So it's very, very important for you to understand that application is very critical, and engineering per se is more and more design thinking, design learning, and creativity. Because that's where you will actually see that technology is going to be in you and it's going to be around you. So you will talk, Chakoji has talked about wearable electronics. We're talking of embedding the electronics into your systems also. So if a part of your body is going to have an accident, can I 3D print the part of the body so that it is there is also now talking of regenerative cells that they're talking of in research. Engineering has just transcended and gone everywhere, engineering design. So there is no limit what you read extensively, see where your passion is, but run with the core because those fundamentals will never change. That's only my advice.
Yeah, one of the questions here, adding to Dr. Sandhya Chintala, somebody says like, can I take a program which there's no public interest? So that's exactly the problem in India today. So like, because TCS, Wipro, Cognizant, all of them are saying, I need 30,000, I need 35,000 people. So everyone thinks there's a lot of job opportunities, but people are not cashing in. Like, you know, when I talked to the Tamil Nadu Minister for Education, I went and told him, sir, he said, core engineering, every interest. I said, sir, இன்னைக்கு வந்து பிரைம் மினிஸ்டர் நரேந்திர மோடி வந்து 1 லட்சம் கோடி இன்வெஸ்ட்மெண்ட் இன் இன்ஃப்ராஸ்ட்ரக்சர் சொல்லியிருக்காரு. 1 lakh crores இஸ் இன்வெஸ்ட்மெண்ட். ஸோ 1 lakh கோடிக்கு நீங்க கன்ஸ்ட்ரக்ஷன் பண்ணீங்கன்னா எத்தனை இன்ஜினியர் வேணும்? சிவில் இன்ஜினியர்ஸ் யாராவது யோசிச்சு பார்த்திருக்காங்களா? Nobody thinks about that. 1 lakh crores. How many civil engineers do you need? So it is a huge opportunity. But nobody thinks of it because the governments are not advertising. The governments are the ones who are creating this opportunity, but they're not showcasing that opportunity. So they're misleading the students by not doing it because there is opportunity, but they're not coming out and saying. So that's the investment which is going in. So what is the percolation effect of how many engineers you need? So the long story short, I think I wish I was in this era today because it gives you so much opportunity.
Yes.
And this is the best time to be an engineer today.
Correct.
Dr. Chintala, there is a question for you here. So they want to know, how did you make those estimations that you came up with in your presentation?
So basically what this industry does is we constantly, every 5 years, look at reinventing. We go into deep research. So when we got to understand about 7 to 10 years ago that that digitization and automation is going to be, because businesses always have to have more and more efficiencies. So, and then we need to have a market and an outreach. So then we start first training our own employees. So the last 2 years from 2018, 19, 20, we trained our own to be ready for the new wave to come. And now we are seeing is how, because we are always being seeing whether we can have the talent ready. So it is always constantly we are doing this research as a part of our DNA, because no business can survive unless you're able to see what is the current requirement, what is the short-term future as well as a long-term. So we said, can businesses in India come together to predict and say what India should do by 2050 if we have to be a superpower? So basically, we have a very long-term vision and then a smaller tunnel vision as to say what we need to do in the next 5 years. So this is our research process we do. We have our major players, which we have McKinsey, Deloitte, all our companies, Cognizant, everybody contribute to this because we spend a lot of money on understanding what will the future require. But one thing is the future is application. It serves the public. It is because you cannot actually be doing good at public cost. If everybody around you is served, then it's basically, that's how a business survives, because businesses need markets, and that's how we have to go. So every aspect is now going to be touched by technology. But the fundamentals are very critical because you don't change the numbers or the mathematics or the science. But how does it work for everybody? Make anybody and everybody. You have the cell phone system where everybody can have a platform to communicate. And it's amazing to see how you can communicate. But then the communication will go further because change is happening very fast. Before about 100 years, you will have a small change. Then it became once in 10 years. Now it's changing once in a year or in 6 months. So can you actually understand the fundamentals, but have a mindset of application and constant learning to be relevant for the future? So we have all told our own industry people that if you're not going to upskill in all the new applications and technologies, you're not going to be relevant. Right? So it's very important for us to do that. So our own predictions are on research. We have been able to stand tall, but because we have researched once in 5 years, it doesn't mean we don't do this. So shared my information with you is research, which is constantly and goes on annually.
So,
Once
and then Sujata ma'am, just to add to Dr. Sandhya Chintala, so the change when you're talking about, she said that she's forcing everyone in her organization to change. One thing that you will see in Sona is that every teacher who's teaching a program has to qualify and then graduate a test. They have to take a course at Coursera or edX or NPTEL or any program they have to take, and they have to graduate from that, and we pay for the certifications. So they have to get certified to teach that because the world is changing fast. So the big problem today is that you have teachers who are not qualified teaching about the future, because the teachers have all graduated 10 years, 15 years ago, and they're teaching some program which is going to graduates which are going to come out 5 years ahead. So that's why we are always testing our teachers to make sure that they are up to, and sharpening their skills.
So to add to what Mr. Chapo Valyappan said is also, if I look at cybersecurity, which is permeating to every aspect of life, 70% of them are not engineers per se. They are all science graduates, mathematicians, statistics, non-engineering. So it looks like in most of these applications, creativity and design principles are coming into place. While you do engineering, non-engineering is equally on par. So don't forget that aspect too.
Thank you, because there was a question here from somebody, why is this focus on engineering alone? What are there other courses that will have equal importance? So
they are hiring almost 60 to 70% also in various areas on BSc, BCom, BBA, etc. Wherever there is a mathematics, a little bit of statistics. Because when we design something new, we'll have a domain expert, we'll have a communications expert, as well as we have a scientist, as well as a non-core person, because the markets are like that. Because I cannot leave male or female out, because both are good at the market price. I need perspectives. And that's when the process of design comes in. The engineering is core, but then applications are across the markets. That's very important.
So yeah. In fact, Sujata ma'am, there is opportunity available in across sectors. So since we're talking about engineering counseling, which is that's why we were focused on engineering. But even healthcare, if you take biosciences, microbiology or biotechnology or biochemistry has huge opportunities. So I am currently hiring. I have 700 positions open to hire if you know biosciences and know anatomy, physiology, those kind of things. So we require for the US healthcare coding thing that we work with the insurance payers. So that's a huge opportunity. So there are opportunities available elsewhere too because of counseling next week. So that's why we are talking about it here. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Anil Sivdas, I have a question for you. Here is a student who's asked, what is the scope for aeronautical engineering? And another question is also about biomedical, just because Mr. Valyappan spoke about it. So I'm going to address both these questions to you because I need to know your perspective as a core engineering, somebody who is interested in core engineering.
Sure. So first is about the aeronautical engineering. I do think that will be one. So India, there is this program called Defense Offset program, which has been underutilized in sense like when India buys, say, machinery for say $1 billion, 30% of that has to be made in India. Yeah. So that's a Defense Offset program. And the Defense Offset program is not taken off completely at the moment. There is a drive from the government to actually see how a lot of this can start manufacturing, and a lot of companies are mobilizing for that. So since defense budget is very large, and it's about 30% of that has to be done out of India, I do feel that defense, aerospace, and all of that, which all will have which all have requirement. And what is aerospace? You're talking about core mechanical, then you're talking about core electronics. I mean, and I would say more of mechanical, less of electronics, because electronics, or if you take a aerospace design, it's primarily mechanical engineers who have to be trained on a certain standard for aerospace, and then they start doing the design of that. So this is electrical, because there is huge amounts of kilometers of wires that go across airplanes. So and then of course all of these, as we discussed, is all about specialization. You learn aeronautical engineering, and then you specialize in one of the sectors of one of the aeronautical engineering. So my thing would be that there would be scope in that. Biomedical also is a upcoming field where I think India is a big importer of what do you call and a lot of that slowly is getting manufactured here. There are a lot of startups and companies also working on building machinery for the hospitals. So on one side, the hospitals are all growing, and there are many hospitals just sprouting up all across the country. And India is anyways importing. So whatever is getting import substituted in India will surely drive demand. And then core of all of that is design. So, I would think both would have scope. Again, as what the other Choco and Dr. Sandhya were also talking, it's all about what you like. I think there is enough scope. It's all about what you like personally, and you're good at. And I mean, if you like it, then you're good at it. And then from that, you pick a specialization. So I don't think you should think too much about which branch to go about. I think there is scope in almost all of these. So it's all about what you do. And then in those 4 years, if you can really learn the subject and find one specialization inside, then you'll find the way out.
Thank you. You've answered the question that's come from a lot of people. What should I choose? Which has more scope? I think you've said all core engineering, all engineering subjects have a lot of scope, provided you know what to choose.
And one of the areas in that aerospace and aeronautics is that, augmented and virtual reality. Now, if I think there is a fault, actually, I have these augmented virtual reality designs, which has been interlaced with the code, which exactly will pinpoint to an engineer where the problem is, so that it can be, so that you will know about it, right? And then due to this advancement in deep learning and mobile connectivity, sensors, 3D printing, and robotics, the costs have been done. So we are also now exploring, like Elon Musk and all of them are exploring space travel. And ISRO is very keen on this, because after a while, the way we are consuming our resources, we might, this is almost like sci-fi, but we might have to look for other galaxies to live in. So how do we move and live in Mars, and how? So there's a huge amount of science and investment going on in this research on how to actually live in different space areas. So that's being explored. So those of you who are in the orbital aerospace requirements, this is a fascinating space where you have an opportunity to have a look at, because ultimately we can actually have all the satellites connected. There is a sort of a grid. So this again is a huge industry, which is extraordinarily going to explode in the future. So have a look at it.
Yeah, aerospace is going to have a great future, but there are also ways like what Dr. Anil was talking about. So you can do mechanical engineering, for example, and then in mechanical engineering, you focus on, say, CATIA or something like that, because a lot of CATIA, for example, is used in aerospace engineering. And so those are some of those products which are automatically trained at Sona or other colleges too. So you can specialize in CATIA or ANSYS or some of those advanced analytics which focuses on composite design or something like that. So you have Pro-E, for example, and in Pro-E you have Polysynth, so which basically looks at how do you layer composites. So once you specialize there, because a lot of, aircrafts today are designed in composites. So the Boeing, for example, it's a complete composite aircraft, right? So how do you layer these composites? So those are, once you specialize, you do a mechanical, then you do Pro-E, then you do polysynth or something like that, then it becomes super specialized and you can walk into any of the aerospace companies.
Right. Yeah, actually, these tool training, if you take on CATIA or any of those Revit or any of that tools, and then completely understand the tool 100%, and also some bit of technology in one space, I think it can be a very good thing that you can carry to a. So, like for instance, if a company calls you for an interview and they say, "Look, I'm very proficient in." So Rockwell, you have an interview with Rockwell, and they say, "I'm very proficient in CATIA," and then they run a CATIA tool test on you, and if you're doing well, that's all that you need, because normally they would take you in and then they will take you through a grueling 1 year of, training you on the tool, and, and then, so if you go with that, then you have a job there. So
Thank
that's.
you. I think we have actually run out of time.
Correct.
We should be actually closing this because it has been a very interesting session. I'm so glad that we have been speaking about how important engineering is, because now that we are into the recruitment mode, especially students are getting into colleges. They have a lot of questions, and more often than not, they don't even know what they're looking for when they join engineering. But this kind of a perspective is going to help them a lot. And I hope they do make good choices this time. And I thank each one of you for your time. It's been really interesting having you all on the panel. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you. No, thank you. Bye-bye.